The Puck Portfolio with Andy MacNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio. I'm your host, Andy MacNeil. I am here on weekdays to provide NHL projections, picks, betting advice, and strategies to help you make informed bets throughout the NHL season. This show is sponsored by NorthStar Bets. You can check out NorthStar Bets via the link in the description below. They offer early odds on the next day's NHL games. We've really appreciated that on this show. Get down on some great value bets throughout the season. And we'll continue to do that as we go forward here in the 2023-24 NHL season. The Nashville Predators came through for us on Wednesday. They took down the Winnipeg Jets, jumped out to an early 2-0 lead. Would eventually go up by 4 before the Jets would score a couple, but Nashville would eventually win the game 4-2. They were plus 138 on the money line. On Tuesday, when we locked it in, closed much lower than that, plus 121, I believe, was the closing price. So great line value on the Preds, and they played like the favorite on Tuesday against Winnipeg. Another win for Nashville. As I mentioned, nobody outside of the Toronto Maple Leafs has scored more goals per 60 minutes than the Preds have since the All-Star break. So do not discount that, because that proved to be a big reason why they took down the Jets on Tuesday. Of course, that cleaned up a mess that I made for myself on Tuesday with a big play on the Carolina Hurricanes, kind of falling by the wayside there. Got a great price at minus 139. They closed much higher than that, but of course they lost 1-0 to the New York Rangers on Tuesday. Got a small winner on the Senators beating the Pittsburgh Penguins in overtime, but lost an overtime decision on the Seattle Kraken. I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. Not much to look forward to on today's show as far as Friday's games, because there are only 2 games on the docket for Friday, and they are both very lopsided matchups. But let's take a quick look at the schedule breakdown for Thursday and Friday. If you've been here before, you know what you're looking at. The rest column tells you how many days rest teams have across the NHL. The load column gives you a little bit more context. And why is this important? Well, home teams on equal rest. They've played 550 games this season. They've got a win rate of 52.9%. When the home team has more rest, they've got a win rate of 57.2%. When they've got less rest than the road team, they win just 49% of the time. So this really affects home ice advantage. And if you're not accounting for it in your handicapping, you're going to be probably led down a very dark path, let's just say, because rest is a weapon in the NHL. We put a lot of emphasis on it here on this show. Not going to spend any more time, though, because I do factor this into my handicapping each and every day, and we'll get to the projections right away so we can look at all of Thursday's games. Of course, there's only 2 games on the docket for Friday. We've got the Ducks in Winnipeg taking on the Jets. Big lopsided matchup there, and a pretty lopsided matchup between the Kings on the road in Chicago taking on the Blackhawks. So we won't be spending a whole lot of time talking about those games, because really I don't have a lot of interest in either of those games from a betting perspective. But I do have some interest in Thursday's slate from a betting perspective. And I'm going to start with the Dallas Stars and the New Jersey Devils. Now, New Jersey has been an underdog 20 times this season. They've only won 4 of those games. So maybe they should have been an underdog a lot more. Dallas crushed the Devils 6-2 in New Jersey the first time these two teams met back on January 20th. So not that long ago. And I think the thing that might go unnoticed here is that Dallas has been a lot more prone to playing down to opponents on home ice than they have been on the road. They've won almost 60% of the games at home, but they've only got 10 regulation wins on home ice this season. That means only 5 teams have fewer home regulation wins than the Stars. I still think Dallas should be a big favorite here, minus 177 according to the model. So I don't have any interest in either side. I think the Stars will win this game, but they've actually allowed 3.25 goals per game at home, per 60 minutes at home this season. And I'm looking at the total here. So I think rest will play a big role in the game script, whether or not this is a high scoring game. And if you look at how the Devils have performed in games where they've got an equal amount of rest or they've got more rest than the home team, they're 14-7 to the over in road games where that is the case. 7-3 to the under in the rest of the road games where they're at a rest disadvantage. So a very clear trend here that rest does help the Devils perform a little bit better offensively, but doesn't really help them clean up their defense as they have lost a lot of games this season thanks to their goaltending. Now, Dallas also is 19-8 to the over in games where they don't have a rest advantage. So Dallas is not at an advantage in the rest department. On Thursday, the Stars are also 39-28 to the over this season. That's 58.2%. I like over 6.5 goals at -105. I know Jake Ottinger will be in goal for the Stars, but I see this one being a lot more high scoring than most. I don't think Dallas has been really, corrected in the market as far as the pace that they play at, the rate at which their games go over the total. 58.2% this season. I like this game over 6.5 goals. Shop around though, because there are some varying prices here. NorthStar Bets currently at -111 over 6.5. I don't think that's a bad price, but I was able to grab -105. So I did have to do that. Elsewhere, not a lot that I like from a betting perspective. I think there could be some things that develop throughout the day, but as far as the sides and the totals go, the Stars and the Devils over 6.5 goals at -105. That's my favorite bet by a mile. And I'm risking 1.05 units to win 1 unit on that one. I did like the Flyers at +120 or better, but not at +115. Now, here are the top 7 teams through the lens of even strength expected goals percentage per evolving hockey since February 1st. Carolina, Minnesota, Edmonton, Dallas, Philly, Florida, and Toronto. So the Flyers, they've still been playing some pretty good hockey. They're really good at even strength. They're just as good as Toronto as far as controlling the pace of play. I talked the last time that the Flyers and Maple Leafs were going head to head, how I thought that, the fact that Philly has a pretty good shot share could kind of be a shock to the system for the Maple Leafs. And I think that was the case. The Maple Leafs aren't used to being outshot in games, and in games where they, do play an opponent that can hold their own in that department, they have a tough time. And it took overtime for the Maple Leafs to put the Flyers away the last time they met in Toronto. I think you could see something similar here. This will be a close game, in my opinion. It's going to be Ilya Samsonov and Samuel Urson in goal for their respective clubs. A big game between the New York Islanders and the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, after Tuesday's win over the Red Wings, the Sabres now just sit 5 points back of the Islanders in the wild card race. But I do want to say their playoff chances still sit at just 2%, according to my projections. They've got one of the toughest remaining schedules in the NHL. Regardless, like I said, this is a big game for both teams. And I'm sure neither team wants to hear what I think about their playoff odds. The model says New York will win 53.1% of the time. They should be priced around -113 as a result. Ilya Sorokin confirmed to start in goal for the Islanders. This one's pretty much a pick 'em across the board at a lot of sports books, but depending on which side you like, if you do like the Islanders, you could probably find maybe a shorter price than a pick 'em if you shop around. I didn't bet the Islanders, full disclosure, but if I was going to bet a side, I would shop around and find a better price on the Islanders. Maybe -103 was available a little bit earlier. So at that point, yeah, there would be an edge. Not widely available, though. Next up, we've got the Arizona Coyotes at the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings still do not have Dylan Larkin, and they just followed up a 6-game win streak with a 6-game losing streak. So not great. That also included a 4-0 loss to the Coyotes in Arizona just a few days ago. So it's no surprise that the Coyotes took some money overnight here. They opened up around +150. Now the best you'll find is +135 or +140. Forward Barrett Hayden is going to be out. He's back in Arizona. Sounds like he'll be out till at least the middle of the month, March 16th. Alex Lyon is going to start for Detroit. That has been confirmed. I don't see any value on the Coyotes at this point. I don't think Detroit is a good team. I don't think Arizona is a good team either. I would want that Connor Ingram confirmation if I am betting on the Coyotes, which I am not. But yeah, should be an interesting game. See if the Red Wings can make something happen here, because as of yesterday's update, their playoff chances were sitting at just 36%. So they went and ruined a lot of the good stuff that they were able to do earlier in, coming into the month of March, going on that 6 game win streak, now following it up with a 6 game losing streak. Not great. Marquee matchup, probably the biggest matchup of the night, I think, for a lot of people. The Panthers are back in Carolina, taking on the Hurricanes. They stormed back down from 3-0 to win 4-3 in regulation, nonetheless, against the Dallas Stars on Tuesday. They've beaten the Hurricanes once this season, winning 5-2 on home ice in Florida back in November, but they lost 1-0 to Carolina just recently on February 22nd. I don't think either side is appealing to me at the current odds. I'm actually surprised to see people backing the Hurricanes at minus 117, pushing this up to, minus 125 into that range. That was kind of surprising to me. I know the Panthers are without Ekblad. No word on whether or not they're going to have Evan Rodriguez back. Very decent depth scorer, but I just can't see how you would find value on the Hurricanes at those current odds. I mean, I would consider betting the Panthers at plus 117. I didn't think it would get there. It probably won't, but maybe it does. And at that point, I would consider a bet on the Florida Panthers. Another big marquee matchup between two Eastern Conference teams. The New York Rangers are in Tampa Bay taking on the Lightning, and I could see why someone might want to bet against the Rangers here. Their underlying metrics are dreadful. New York ranks 28th in expected goals percentage since the start of February, and my gut says the Rangers are a fade, but the model is the has the final word. It says that Tampa Bay should be priced at minus 104, assuming it is Igor versus Vasilevsky between the pipes, and that means that I'd be looking for plus money uh, on the home team at the very least. Besides, I don't really get this whole regression thing. I know this has been thrown around a lot with New York. They're running unsustainably hot. I get that, but I actually hate how much the word regression, the concept, is tossed around in sports. I think people take the concept, they oversimplify it, but at the same time, they put too much stock into it from a betting perspective. It's like trying to catch a falling knife. I just don't think it's a good strategy. I think Tampa Bay's price has to be appealing, and it is not right now. No Jacob Trouba for the Rangers either. Something that I thought was worth noting. Next up, we've got the Capitals, who got smoked by the Oilers on Wednesday by a score of 7-2. They're in Seattle taking on the Kraken on Thursday, and I don't really care about this game. I just want to say that, there's got to be records on this show earlier this season. I know I talked about just how dreadful the Seattle Kraken are when it comes to playing 3-on-3 overtime. And, at some point in mid-November, I said to myself, you know what, if I have a bet on the Kraken and the game goes to overtime, I'm just going to turn it off, because I can't stand watching this team play 3-on-3 hockey. And I'm glad I made that decision, because they have scored just one 3-on-3 overtime goal since the start of November. So they went 2-2 in overtime in the month of October. Since then, they're 4-10 in overtime periods. They've got 3 shootout wins, but just one overtime win with a goal in OT. So yeah, this team is just brutal to watch 3-on-3. The Vegas game was super frustrating. I had, of course, an underdog bet on the Kraken. They went up 4-2, and with less than 8 minutes on the clock, they managed to, just let the Vegas Golden Knights come all the way back, force overtime, and that's when I shut the game off, because I knew what was going to happen, and it did indeed happen. So I don't have a lot of interest in this game. In fact, really no interest at all. But it is worth mentioning that Vince Dunn and Jaden Schwartz are both listed as day-to-day still for the Kraken. Finally, I want to talk about the Calgary Flames and the Vegas Golden Knights. No bet here right now. But this one is tough to handicap, because Jacob Markstrom, Andrei Kuzmenko, and Andrew Mangiapane are all considered day to day, and Connor Zary, who has been a big help for this Flames team, might not rack up a lot of points, but if you look how Nazem Kadri has just had this huge resurgence since Zary came into the NHL and was placed on his line. He is definitely a difference maker. And he's going to be out until at least March 18th by the sounds of things. So I think this puts the Flames in a pretty tough spot. But with the status of those players kind of up in the air right now, not knowing if any of them will play, obviously there's a big difference between Dustin Wolf and Jacob Markstrom in goal. So yeah, it makes this game pretty tough to handicap. But like I said before, the only bet that I really love today is the over 6.5 in New Jersey and Dallas. We've got minus 105 to win 1 unit, and that is my best bet for Thursday. We'll be back on Friday, I believe. Haven't confirmed yet, but I believe Nick Martin will be joining the show for a live stream, as is the case usually on Friday. We'll be live at 11:30 Eastern time. Looking ahead to Saturday's big NHL slate, we'll be able to probably skip right over Friday's 2-game slate because, like I said, just two lopsided matchups. Neither one very intriguing from a betting perspective. But yeah, that pretty much does it for today's show. Once again, check out our sponsor, NorthStar Bet, via the link in the description below. Drop a like on the video if you have not already, and subscribe to the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel. We'll see you on Friday. Good luck with your bets.